All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome to Valentine's Day special, the Valentine's Day special, because this is a story that's got some teeth, man. We got a scandal, IV scandal. We've got an update from USADA. We got an update from Islam's team that is directly just said, this is our story, okay? We did get an IV, and here's the story, okay? So that is coming on this video. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what Islam is saying that they got there, or Islam's team is saying that he got an IV for. And I am going to, let's see, how am I going to say this? I am going to wonder out loud how on earth, if this is true, Volkanovski's team would have not known about it, which is where it's like, listen, man, this is all, I don't have any problem talking about this just because this is all going to come out, man. Like, this is all going to come out. So let's jump into it. This is not going to be a very long video, but I'm going to give you guys the gist. So a quick update for, you know, I get complaints all the time. People are like, dude, don't just assume that I've seen your previous videos. So I won't. I'll give you guys a quick update where we were yesterday, the things that I talked about in the video yesterday, and then I'll give you guys a new updates on what USADA is saying now and then what Islam's team is saying. Before we get into it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Yeah, you know, we shake on it here. I'm shaking your hand. You're going to subscribe to the channel if you want to watch my content. It's free. Just do it, dude. And also, I want to thank Yo Kratom. You guys know about Yo Kratom if you watch my content consistently. Yo Kratom, $60 kilograms or $110 kilograms if you want it capsuled. It's the bomb. It's the best stuff in the world, and it's the cheapest. Get after it. I love you guys. Let's go. All right, so here is what we had happen yesterday. So obviously we start the morning with Dan Hooker with a very public, very direct accusation saying that Islam is a cheating C-word and that they have proof that that he took an IV for rehydration. And he was very adamant about this, okay? So there was no response from anyone initially. And throughout the day, I talked to lots of people. I found out that Volkanovski's team claims to have direct evidence that that Islam rehydrated through an IV. That they're like stone evidence. They're like we can prove it. Okay, Islam's team was like he didn't rehydrate through an IV, and even if he did, here's this rule that states that if a fighter is dehydrated and they have an exemption from UFC, then they can get rehydrated through IV. Now, that is what the tweet that John Morgan put up said something about a UFC, whatever. When I read the actual rule, it doesn't read exactly like that. If I remember to put it on this video, I will. It basically says, as far as I can read it, that if the dehydration is a legitimate medical need and would allow for an IV, but it doesn't matter anymore. Like that was where we were at last night, right? That's the last thing that we ended on last night was the rule basically states that maybe you might be able to rehydrate just based on being dehydrated. I'll tell you exactly why it doesn't matter anymore. And that has to do with the update from Islam's team. But first, on the USADA side, USADA has officially opened an investigation into this. And so, like I said, this is going to get sorted out. Now, one thing that I found out, officially, is that the IV violation, at least as of, I mean, this was years ago, but it was a 2-year suspension if you got popped doing it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, listen, like this would be a catastrophic hit to Islam's career if this ended up being true. But yeah, we're looking at a 2-year suspension. And I said from the beginning, I was like, dude, once you have an accusation like this, you know, USADA is going to have to investigate. It's all going to come out. You know, I said the same thing about the James Krause thing immediately. I said the exact same thing. Like one of those things that I have pretty good instincts on is like, all right, well, is this going to be a story that turns into something bigger, or is this going to be a story that, you know, is like, this is a headline that's just going to kind of pass by? James Krause thing, the Derek Minner thing, before we knew anything at all, the first video I did, as I just said, as a matter of fact, I didn't even know James Krause was his manager at the time. I literally didn't even know James Krause was his manager. And I was just like, dude, you guys are going to get caught. Like whoever's involved in this, you're going to get caught. You know, like the line moved, you know, the line doubled and whatever the numbers were. And then you threw a kick and then you're injured and then you throw another kick with the same, like if you did this, you're going to get caught. Everyone's going to get caught here. Everyone's going to get caught. And they did, it seems. It seems they did get caught. So, man, I am hearing bad things about that, by the way. I am hearing bad things about that. Really bad things about that. But you know what? They're so bad that I'm not going to say them on the channel because I have a very strict rule that, I have a couple of rules that this would violate. Number one is if I think that there's any chance that me talking about it on the channel is going to lead to further consequences for a person that I'm talking about, I won't talk about it ever. Absolutely never. If I find something out that I can't confirm for sure that like the authorities know about or that the organization knows about, I'm not talking about it on the channel. I'm not gonna throw consequences in someone's way. It feels pretty ratty. You know what I mean? And also, unless I know a person really, really well, I don't consider them a source solid enough to where, it doesn't mean they're not solid. It's just like in terms of what I'll put on the channel, it needs to be someone bulletproof. Nonetheless, I'm hearing very bad things about that. I think that that's going to end up very, very, very bad for those guys. Really bad. Anyway, but so on the Islam side, so here is what the update is. Gala, whoever that is, put the picture that I shared on my video up with the crease of his arm. Obviously, whatever, you guys can see it. And she said, all right, little bro, but what is this? And Rizman Magomedov said, mandatory blood test by Australia Commission Wednesday morning, right before media and photo shoot. Ask Hooker, find the nurse with the commission, she can confirm. Okay. What's the problem there? What is the primary problem with that answer? Right? Like if just common sense. What's the problem there? If you're using your brain. Okay? How on earth would Volkanovski's team not know about a mandatory Australian Commission drug test or blood test? How is that possible? The two guys are fighting. Okay, if Islam is mandated to have a blood test, so is Volkanovski. How on earth could that explain away this IV thing, right? How could that possibly? Now, if what they're saying is they're just explaining this, like they're just explaining the reason why he has the thing on his arm that a bunch of us shared pictures of, then that's one thing, right? But he said, find the nurse with the commission and she'll confirm. Tell Dan Hooker, he's implying, by saying Dan Hooker, he's implying that this explains the whole thing, which is ridiculous because Dan Hooker and Volkanovski, of course they would know about a mandatory blood test because they would have to do it also. So unless Dan Hooker, Volkanovski, and I guess Volkanovski hasn't said anything publicly yet, but whatever, Volkanovski's team, right? There are multiple people on his team stating they have, bulletproof proof. Like if they were confused by that, they're all, Volkanovski, hey, what time's your blood test? He's all, I got to go do it at 10 o'clock. They're all right. And then the next day it's like, hey, did you hear that this nurse did Islam's IV? And they're all, what? They're all, yeah, she did Islam's IV. They're like, what? She did his IV, and she has never asked another question like, hey, could it have been the IV that, or the same blood draw? Was it a blood draw or was it an IV? Because if it was a blood draw and it was on, it was before the weigh-ins, then that would be the same thing that Volkanovski did. Like if they didn't ask a single follow-up question, yeah, a nurse put a needle into Islam's arm and they're all, got him, dead to rights. He's done, son. He's done. We got him. You cheating little C-word. You cheating little C-word. We got you. Speaking of which, on Chael's video that he did about this, on his thumbnail, he put the tweet up and didn't block out the C word. I was like, damn. And the only reason I even bring it up is because, anything I do like that on my thumbnails, dude, YouTube snatches it instantly. I would be shocked if they didn't 18 plus that. I mean, you could get it, reversed as soon as you change or just block it out. But it just straight up as it is C-U-T, bam, right on the middle of his thumbnail. I was like, damn, man, he must have a special relationship with YouTube if he can do that. Anyway, that is what I got. So, this doesn't make any, that explanation makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. Doesn't make any sense because, of course, Volkanovski's team would know about that, right? You would think, unless they're dumb, right? If it ends up being that, let me just say this. If it ends up being that, if it was a mandatory blood test that their fighter took and they found out that a nurse did a blood draw on Islam and didn't remember that Volkanovski had to do a blood test, and this is all about that, those guys are retards. I'm going to just throw that out there right now. If that ends up being what it is, I'm sure it's not, but if it was, each and every one of the people on their team that was involved in this is a dumbbell. But I doubt that that's what it is, because that's why I think that this explanation makes no sense. Anyway, I'm about to do another video about Andrew Tate, though. Andrew Tate victims speaking out and making no sense. Just feed me gold, son. Oh, you're going out for Valentine's Day? You're going to be out of commission? Here's on a platter. What do you do best, Jesse? I'm like, scandals. They're all, here you go. Here's a scandal. Do you like it? I'm like, ooh, I do like it. That one smells real good. It smells juicy. Let me do what I do best. Beep, boop, 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 boop. What's going on, man? Hey, man, what's going on? Hey, man, what's going on? Hey, man, what's going on? And then I bring it to you guys. So, anyway, Andrew Tate one is going to be good, though. It's going to be good. I'll give you a spoiler. The Andrew Tate one of the victims says in her statement, you can hear her say it, I mean, listen, all the decisions that I made were mine. It's not like he locked me in a room or threw me in a bag or anything. Wait, what? All my decisions were mine. So how is this human trafficking then? You just literally in your own victim statement said you made all your own decisions. What are we talking about? Look for that video. I love you guys. Peace.